Welcome to episode 37 of the Play Your Yards Right podcast. As always, I am Sasha here with my wonderful co-hosts, Sarah and Mike, and the Super Bowl is officially set. We have a wonderful championship weekend in the books now, Ravens, Chiefs, Lions, 49ers, and we get to recap it all right here. We will go as normal, chronological order. Got to start with the Ravens and Chiefs, and then for those original podcast listeners, we will be bringing on the real Lions fan, super fan Taylor we had from earlier in the season to see how he's holding up with his Lions in Detroit, and it's gonna be an exciting one. I can't believe that he's still willing to come on, but we get to pick his brain a little bit. But
hopefully he's cleaned up mom's spaghetti.
Yeah, that was fun. That was fun to see him getting mad and flipping everybody off at the game. You gotta let's bring a little bit of Detroit in there. That was
ageless Eminem, 51 years old.
He keeps looking better. I think he also started looking pretty bad. I think doing drugs and bleaching your hair is not necessarily or maybe that is kind of the trick. People always see how bad people age is because they look good when they were young. You got to put some bad footage out there when you're young. That's
what I'm doing.
That way, when you get old, like, wow, he really had a glow up.
Get fat now so I can get skinny later.
All right, that's a later problem.
That's right.
So before we get into that, Ravens Chiefs, this game stunk.
Bad game.
I hated watching this.
It was infuriating. You knew what the outcome was gonna be, like literally like 3 to 5 minutes into the game. You just could tell where this was going. And I don't think any of us liked that.
No, it's just, it came out and Mahomes looked so good on that first drive. I guess the first two drives, right? It was just back-to-back touchdowns, scored those 14 points really fast. And it's just, when they were able to play with a lead, their defense looked just unbelievable. Their defense looked so good. And it's just, I was just so tired. The second half was just the most boring thing in the world. It was just good defense on both sides of the ball because the Ravens defense decided to finally show up. But I was just so tired of this game and just wanting the Mahomes and having to root for Lamar Jackson to do something good against that defense was just the most frustrating time, like most frustrating 2 hours I've had to spend.
Yeah, I'm in full Bills offseason mode where I looked down at my phone and was like, when's this game start? And was like, oh, 7-0 Chiefs. So I'm like I'm way off. And then sadly just put it on to realize I was already losing my Ravens bet. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Oh, we get to bring that up a little later too. It felt like it added insult to injury, and it's everything that you've been saying about Lamar for the last 3 years. It's just always comes to a head, and I don't know why I feel like I'm always stuck here defending Lamar because I basically feel like I have to be there being like, he's not that bad. And then this year he actually, he looked amazing. He looked great. Obviously, he's going to be the MVP still because it's a regular season award and it's not, this stuff doesn't affect it.
And you still believe he was the most valuable player on his team this year.
Who else would be? I mean, they were the 1 seed.
Who else could have been the most valuable player
on that team?
To their team, out of anybody to their team in the league.
Well, no, I know.
The most valuable player.
We know where he's going with this.
Yeah, I know. I don't know
who are you guys thinking? Who's it? Don't let your intrusive thoughts in. Who is it?
Who was more valuable on the team that had a better record than the Bills?
Oh, don't play these word games. The most valuable player on the Ravens was the defense.
So, I mean, I agree that their defense was the best part of that. But
the most impactful player to a team's record in the NFL this year, if it wasn't hammered home today, was Joshua Patrick Allen.
Patrick?
Throwing the building.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't like that. I like that.
Josh Allen then. Yeah,
okay. But anyway, it was all of the bad Lamar that people kind of expected sometimes, or that we've seen in other parts of the season. It just all came to one.
It is Patrick. God, I felt bad there.
All came to one ugly head all at the beginning. All basically throughout this whole game, and they forced him to throw the ball the entire game. It's like they only ran the ball
5 times.
It's insane that they just wouldn't give the ball to Gus Edwards or anybody else. Like the couple times where they would, it's like you just need to run a balanced offense still. It's not like they were down by 20 points ever either. It's like you were down, they scored a touchdown to start. Like you still need to run the ball and try to just do something because they were just putting pressure on him and Lamar just could not throw the ball, couldn't hit anybody. I mean, and it also felt like at every chance they had, the Ravens would just continuously shoot themselves in the foot. And good play. Here's another 15-yard penalty. Oh, you got to stop on a third down. We're going to have some stupid like taunting, or you're going to get in your face and we're going to headbutt you and give you a free first down.
They were baited. They were baited by a more mature team to commit these penalties.
Yep.
It was major Dallas Cowboys energy in a playoff game, like the undisciplined, penalty calls that just end up shooting them in the foot. I mean, I have to say it because Dak's obviously been taking the heat for it, but Lamar's playoff record, he truly doesn't have that clutch gene. I mean, I have to, I know people are talking about it, so I'm trying to act like people aren't talking about it, but they need to be saying it more. Like, he really needs to be, taking more heat, I feel like, for his performance in the playoffs. Overall, big screen look at it. I mean, this team, up until this game, was dominant, and to have this performance that they had, if I was a Ravens fan, I guess I kind of would feel all around the play calling was bad. The penalties were not all, obviously, if any of them, really Lamar's fault. So you have to look at that. But I feel like it started with him in this game. Like, he didn't look comfortable throwing the ball, and I guess you change the play calling from there. But he just, I don't know, I think they were talking about it on part of my take, but the fact that he just has this, his incredible ability, obviously, to be so elusive and run the ball. Like, does he spend too much time in the pocket deciding whether he should throw or run? Like, because that's such a strong option. And is that why he's just like a half step behind sometimes, where he just gets nailed from behind, or strip sacked and stuff like that? I don't know. Like, does that somehow play to his advantage in some ways? Obviously, it's a huge advantage in others, but I don't know. He just didn't look comfortable out there yesterday at all.
Well, I'm going to say that the strip sack is an overwhelmed quarterback, because he didn't even sense the pressure.
Yeah.
I don't know why Harbaugh had it out to be like it was going to be the Lamar Jackson show. It felt like that was their game plan. Like, we're going to let you go out there and air it out. And we're going to show the world what Lamar Jackson is. And they did that. Because I think the MVP of the Ravens showed up. The Chiefs were scoreless in the second half.
Yeah.
The defense was incredible. Their coaching, play calling, and Lamar's inability to, I don't think he's a great pass. I think he's great when plays break down and he's playing backyard football and he's scrambling, and the defense is, you've given these guys extra time to run option routes off of their original routes and things like that. That was the touchdown to Zay Flowers. Was Lamar got out, created time, bought time, dodge, got back, and then Flowers goes deep, coverage breaks down. But when you're talking like in rhythm, in a scheme, he's not a good quarterback. I know it's like blasphemy, but like, what else do you need to see? Even if you want to say about, and again, Josh Allen, I mean, we put up 24 points against them. It was the same defense a week later, same team. Yeah. I'm just saying we're talking elite quarterbacks. Do you think that what do you thought? Well, I guess we'll get to it, but I don't think the Niners are only going to put up 10 points.
Yeah.
No. Very true. And I guess we have to talk about the Chiefs a little bit more in the offense, and like where, first of all, I feel like the Chiefs offense has just come out of hiding slowly each and every week. Like, Travis Kelce was playing like an animal. He was blocking well. He was obviously had some huge numbers from just receiving standpoint. And I feel like he was just lagging all season. Everyone's like, is he going to retire? Is he sick of this? No, he looked like he was firing on all cylinders. Mahomes was just doing all the Patrick Mahomes stuff, like his usual mannerisms, getting the calls. I mean, when you play the Chiefs, you have to beat the refs for sure, because calls do always go in their favor, but they give the Ravens it to themselves. But I feel like we talked about last week, they were officially getting annoying. Like, this is, I think, universally now, everyone can agree upon that, unless you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan.
Yeah, I'm just so tired of it already. It just feels like the torch has been passed from Brady and the Patriots. Brady and the Patriots. It's like, it doesn't matter how bad they look, doesn't matter what happens throughout the season. If Brady is healthy, they're going to make it to the championship game. They're going to make it to the Super Bowl. It's just feel like this is the same thing for Mahomes, but it's, Mahomes is what, 27, 28 now. Yeah. And, we have another 10 years of this. So I feel like this is a bad time to already be annoyed of it. And I'm not thrilled. And it's like, their defense looks amazing. Jones is incredible. L'Jarius Sneed seems like he was flying all over the field.
Punch out that fumble.
Yeah.
Sick play.
Just I think the only defensive player that was better, I mean, Kyle Hamilton was unbelievable, yeah. But
MVP even.
Yeah, but he But it's just like the Chiefs with this kind of defense, and then when they're really backed up, having Mahomes and Travis Swift on your sideline are just not, they're not. It's not a bad place to be. So Marquez Valdez-Scantling made a huge play. Rashee Rice is serviceable. He's a threat.
The Chiefs did, and they fooled me, and I'm pissed at myself for it. They fooled me by doing the same script that the Patriots did with Gronkowski and the Bucks did, which is Gronk looked washed up during the year, and you think he's lost a step, and in reality, it's just they're keeping the Ferrari in the garage. And come these big games, Kelsey has enough in the tank. He hasn't taken the hits. He hasn't taken the abuse, and he's able to, for a couple hours now, put up these incredible numbers. Like, he's still incredible. And I thought at 34 that he had kind of plateaued, and clearly it's just like a load management thing. So
yeah.
The Chiefs have become what the famous from the Dark Knight. You either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Yeah,
because that's what it is with the Chiefs. Because there was a point in the beginning where, like, I didn't like them, but I didn't hate them, and it was like, wow. And now it's like I have had enough. I have had enough.
Yeah.
Enough.
Yeah.
It's a hard middle ground. I'm trying to think of teams that have done it well. Like, I don't know, maybe Giannis and the Bucks. Like, they do it, like, they're still relatively like, but it's like you win one and then, like, you have to not win one again, because as soon as, like,
Steph Curry's kind of been,
but the
I
Chiefs,
feel like both say,
yeah, people are tired of the Warriors because they kept doing it for so long, and it's just
Derek Jeter's Yankees.
We live in New York, and I'm a huge Yankee fan. I guess Derek.
Everybody loves.
I think everybody loves the Yankees. Yeah, I think
everybody. You love the Yankees.
I've never liked them, never even once.
The Houston Astros.
Yeah, people like them, right? Yeah, they kept coming back. Yeah,
it's everybody.
It's just what happens if you're this successful for that long of a period of time. Like, people just turn on you, and it's happened, and I don't really see them taking a step back. I do think not having Kelsey whenever he does decide to retire is going to be huge, because he's not the kind of guy that's just out there. He's a great route runner. His hands are amazing. His trust with Mahomes seems huge.
Naturally.
And his ability to find those open spaces. He's not always just, he's not an X's and O's. I got to run 8 yards out, cut back, and find this. His ability to find the open space, find the soft spot in the defense is not something that can just be replicated by whatever Noah Gray when he, if he's going to be the heir apparent. Like, that's not something that really can be learned, I don't think. So that's, I don't know, maybe that's going to make it more difficult for them, but it's still just going to be Mahomes finding somebody else.
And a lot of what him and Mahomes do are he goes out, and when he gets to a certain point, it's like break left or break right based off of what you see. And him and Mahomes have to see the same thing, because there's no set. It's not go to the outside or go to the sideline, go to the middle. It's he's got to see it and make a decision. And when he turns around, that ball's already coming. So there's a trust in terms of, like, they don't even know what the play call is. Yeah. And yet they're both always in sync on it. And it is special to watch. I can't stand watching it, but you have to appreciate it when you see it happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
It'll be the thing. We'll tell our kids, be like, yeah, we watched that happen. It was unbelievable to watch. We hated watching it, but boy, was that good.
Right before Josh Allen won his 4 Super Bowls, there were, those guys, the Chiefs.
Wait, Patrick?
Yeah.
That guy?
Patrick. Yeah, the best Patrick.
So boring second half. I'm very, very worried about the Chiefs defense going into the Super Bowl. Like, having, they're going to win another one. They're Patrick Mahomes with points in the Super Bowl. It's just, I keep finding ways to try to talk myself out of, convincing myself that they're going to win, and then they keep winning. It's like, well, yep, we knew that was going to happen. So
can we talk about, and maybe I haven't briefed you guys on this. Can we talk about how annoying Tony Romo has become?
I know. It breaks me to say it, but yes, I agree.
Everything. Could you imagine Tony Romo doing, like, going grocery shopping and, like, just finding, like, something, and it would be like, it's not just like he found, like, a discount. It's the greatest discount of all time, Jim. I found the pepperoni pizza. It's $1 off, Jim. Some people are saying it's the greatest pizza. Tony Romo. When Lamar had the batted, which I saw very funny, the Lamacurate Jackception. That was shout out Stephen Shea.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson's batted pass. He hadn't even caught it. Like, the play just died, And Tony Romo said out loud, and I wrote this down, and I always tell myself to be better with notes. He wrote, "That is the most amazing play I've ever seen, Jim." And it's like, we are in the midst of watching the league MVP flounder and is clearly getting like crushed. It was a shitty play that he got lucky and caught his own tip ball, which because he threw it. So he's the first one with eyes on the ball. And yes, he's athletic. And yes, that was a sick play. He didn't score a touchdown. He got like 8 yards. He said, "That is the most amazing play I've ever seen, Jim." And at that point, somebody should have came in and tapped him on the shoulder and been like, "Here's Joe Buck, everybody, for the rest of the game." Enough of this Tony Romo. Everything he sees is the most amazing thing you've ever seen. He's no longer, and I think this is, and when he had gotten out of the league and into the booth, one of the things that I thought was amazing was like he was still really keen on like what kind of play calls were coming and what you were going to see. And he did a lot of this in-game analysis, like he was almost pre-predicting these plays, but also explaining them.
It's a lot of what Greg Olsen is doing now.
Exactly.
That's exactly what I equated to.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of what Troy Aikman still does and has gotten better at doing. Because ironically, I think he sucked. He had like no personality. And now he's like like, I'm sad he's not in the Super Bowl. Because we're getting more Tony Romo, everybody.
Oh yeah.
And now that he's like a few years removed, and I'm sorry, I don't know him. Maybe he's the greatest guy. Maybe he's the greatest guy ever, Jim. I think he's not doing his homework anymore. He's spamming the buttons on like the 4 notes he has. There was a game and I always bring it to the Bills. There was a game for the Bills where Josh Allen, it was after he had a bad game. I forget which one it was. And he was taking like checkdowns. And clearly Tony Romo's notes was, he's got to take care of the ball. He's got to make the smart play. He said it like 74 times in the game. And I'm like, man, this guy's got no other angle. And it's like, we have to sit with you for 3 hours. It can't be. He's like, if you want to be Patrick Mahomes, you've got to do Patrick Mahomes. Like Patrick Mahomes doesn't do this shit. He completes his passes. He reads he's telling like a story, like a tall tale when I'm just trying to get analysis or silence, or just let me hear Jim Nantz tell you what down and distance it is.
Right. That's the point of the color guy, is to paint with interesting colors. Don't Jackson Pollock all over it with just all like, I completely agree. So Sarah, as a Cowboys fan, is this like, do you have any sort of lingering like, well, it is still Tony Romo? Like, you know,
I mean, I feel bad for him in a way. Like, it's like one of those kind of like secondhand embarrassment, right? Like when you see someone like who, like one of your friends, like thinks they're good at karaoke, like they pride themselves at being good at singing, then they go to karaoke and they're like trying their hardest, and everyone's like, like, you know what I mean? That's kind of how I see it. I mean, I think you hit it on the head. Like everyone thought he was great early on because of his analysis, and it was a breath of fresh air sort of thing, like more, bringing it into the booth, I think, than it was previously. But now he definitely has brought his enthusiasm, and I don't even know if it's his real personality or if it's just this personality he puts on to do this, but where his voice is I find his voice irritating. I really do. And I feel like you said it exactly right. He's using far too many cliches. You cannot cry wolf. Every play, like you said, cannot be the most amazing thing you've seen, or, this is incredible. Like he's always saying that. And I feel like he just is like, I don't know what the reason for the shift is in it. Maybe he felt like he needed to bring more energy along with Jim Nantz. Like maybe he's trying to contrast him and bring a different voice to things. But I think he just needs to tone it down a notch. Is all. I think if he just brings it back to his roots, I'm sure it's in there somewhere. But I feel like someone has to be like, hey, like let's reel it in a little bit here.
He needs to start dating Jessica Simpson again.
Oh. He is starting to look like just this.
He's got hair
personality plugs in, like he's like weird, bad, like fake tanner on his face. I think there's all the whatever chemicals he's doing to his head are seeping into his brain. And I think it's maybe a little bit of reading too many of his own press clippings from those first like 2 years when everybody's like, oh, maybe he's really onto something. He's really great.
Good. He was, and I'm not taking that away. It's just I walked away from this game when I'm so pissed at the Ravens for losing me money. I'm so pissed at betting on them. I hate the Chiefs. I hate my life right now as a football fan. I was 30 minutes late to the game. I'm so like down, I'm broken. And all I could think about was Tony Romo needs to shut the fuck up sometimes and like just let the game go. Or tell me what I'm looking at on the field, Tony, former NFL quarterback Tony Romo. Instead of like the check down in this an AFC championship game, Jim, it's everything. It sounds like, it sounds like what it sounds like. It sounds like he's having he's climaxing in the booth there, everybody.
he's
Poor
excited.
Jim Nantz probably got to slide his chair away after the first play.
He's just like, I hate this
Get away
guy.
from me, Tony.
But he's not
Yeah.
spending.
I don't think he's doing his homework.
He's not spending enough time on football because he's busy. His currently his according to Golf USA, his current handicap is 1.6. And I don't know if you guys know much about golf, but you don't get a 1.6 handicap by not playing golf a lot. So
Yeah.
I think maybe spend a little more too much time on the links, maybe just getting excited and not really doing a lot of the homework in the booth.
His reaction sounds like he's handicapped sometimes.
I was worried about Googling Tony Romo handicap. It was just going to be some actual expose about
just a
something,
clip
but
reel of him
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
screaming at plays that were not important.
about the self tanner he's using, poisoning his brain.
Maybe the hair plugs, probably.
I have one other quick coaching shout out, and I don't know if you guys saw this, and I think they did mention it in the game, so I'll give credit to them for this. Did you see, and this is really obscure, but I always get crazy about the end of the game, and there'll be some stuff about the Lions, about the way that they really botched. That was a Sean McDermott shit. They had the penalty, it was 1st and 10. They needed to get a stop to get the ball back, right on the Chiefs' last drive before they punted.
Yeah.
It went to 1st and 5, and the clock wasn't running. I think there was 2 minutes and 38 seconds left. So that penalty didn't advance the clock. Instead of them taking, just letting them run that play at 1st and 10, they had Roquan Smith run through the offensive line. First of all, he blew a guy up, which is always, that's got to be very jarring as a left guard.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden, you're thinking you're about to snap and then just get blown up by the middle linebacker. They took a 15-yard penalty. That penalty also doesn't start the clock. So all you need to get as a Ravens team is one stop. You essentially take them from, instead of having it 1st and 5 to get that first down, you surrender the 15 yards, which are inconsequential, to get back to 1st and 10.
Yes.
Incredible coaching call, because I'm sitting there and I'm a clock management psycho. John Harbaugh, although I did not like a lot of his game plan, that was very smart, and more coaches should think about stuff like that.
Yes.
The way if you ever get a penalty when it's one drive and points don't matter to that other team, getting a penalty, you want that to be 1st and as many yards as possible, as long as you're not going to have to run clock.
Right.
Because 1st and 5, then they got to get 5 yards, and then you're burning timeout, game's over. So very smart. I don't know if you guys saw it.
I did. It was really good.
Blown away.
Yeah.
I was so impressed.
It was but that was still so Ravens. They still managed to mess it up. He hit them so hard. It was a 15-yard penalty as opposed to 5-yard ones. They couldn't even do that totally right. But it was the same thing, because I was kind of confused. I'm like, it was 1st and 5. How'd they get to 1st and 10? I was like, oh, that's a very, very, very smart play. So
I think that was a Chiefs-y call to call it a personal foul too.
Yeah.
Because it's that's encroachment.
Right. It's kind of, it's like in the NBA, guy gets hit to, it's like, we know we're just hitting, we're just trying to foul you here. It's like, you didn't need to punch him in the face.
Yeah. Flagrant one.
But overall, Chiefs will continue to be the Chiefs. I think the Ravens, Niners would have been fun. Ravens, either team that came out of the NFC would have been fun, but just going to be the Chiefs. And now I guess I really have somebody to root against. So that'll make it for an interesting 2 weeks. Now, actually, we will be bringing on our real Lions fan, as alluded to in the beginning, Taylor. We'll get to hear his breakdown, see how he's holding up, and we will talk a little bit about the Lions-Niners game to end out the championship in the NFC. As promised, we are officially back to break down the Lions 49ers game with superfan of the Detroit Lions, Taylor, who was on earlier in the season. So I guess first and foremost, Taylor, we want to send you our deepest regards and condolences. We were officially a Detroit podcast as soon as the Bills had lost. Everybody and their mother, I think, was rooting for Detroit, and it was really hard to see them go down the way they do. So first of all, how are you doing? How are you holding up? And what are your overall takes from that heartbreaking loss?
Man, I'm good. Like I said earlier, I'm kind of more frustrated that I almost had the Super Bowl prediction when I was on earlier. It would have been really nice to gloat in that. But it's one of those where it's like, man, when me and Sarah had the podcast last year and we were 1-6, and I was like, hey, we're about to turn the corner, and they did. I can't be mad that my expectation was like, let's get a playoff game and maybe one win, and then they exceed the expectations and get to the. I mean, if we're really being honest, let's take the field goals out of it. You get one football off the face mask into Ayuk's hands, and that completely changes the game. So you have a complete fluke play that kind of really cost us, along with a few other things. Can't be too mad about it. Um, and, and the way Dan Campbell has his team built, this is either going to break you or it's going to make them more hungry. And I think the people that he keeps around, looks like a majority of the team, the main free agent that we would probably be losing is Decker and CJ GJ. So we can replace the cornerback, and you got to trust Ben Johnson and Dan Campbell in the draft and how they pick the right players. It's probably too early to say that, like, man, we expect to be back in the same spot next year because they over exceeded expectations, and you don't want to. I feel like this is worse than a Super Bowl loss hangover, but it could recharge the guys, make them more hungry. Could dwell on it, but I'm actually not as sad as I could be. As long as the 49ers win, then I'll be really sad.
Yeah, I think
because
we're definitely in that same boat.
Because I mean, if anybody watched that game, you're watching Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, and you're like, the Chiefs aren't going to stop these guys. Like, if J-Mo gets a reverse screen, he could get two of those to the house. Like, I think it was a matchup nightmare for the Chiefs, and I think the Chiefs are way more excited they're getting the 49ers than they are the Detroit Lions.
Ooh,
No.
I don't know if anybody's real pumped that they're having Mahomes come in and have to play against them. I completely agree with you. You know, it's a tough hangover, but Dan Campbell's the guy that you want to hang your hat on. And the thing that scares me the most is, or if I was a Lions fan, the thing I would be the most worried about is a similar kind of thing to what happened with the Eagles this year, where losing a coordinator, because it seems like a lot of things are pointing towards Ben Johnson becoming the head coach of the Commanders. So having to lose him and then having to replace that is not the most fun task in the world. So do you think that he's going somewhere, and do you think that Campbell can find somebody to replace him and still have the offense hum like it did this year?
So I wish I knew Dan Campbell. I wish I knew Dan Campbell personally, just because he'd be really cool to know personally. But if you think of the way he's running that team, I'm sure. I mean, it's the same way with business. He's probably training his replacement the same way he would want Ben Johnson to train his replacement.
Yeah.
So I don't know who they would have internally, or if they have somebody in mind internally. That'd probably make the most sense, because you just have someone with that same philosophy that's been under Ben Johnson. But if I could have a swaying voice to Ben Johnson, is the Commanders don't have Dan Snyder, so I can't use that to sway you from it. But do you really want to go to a rebuilding franchise, and you have to find a quarterback, and you're leaving a lot of good weapons behind? Like, you don't just want to stick it out and wait for a better job to open next year. So I say all that to say maybe Ben Johnson stays, but you would have to think Dan Campbell. I mean, he's leading this team in 3 years, an ultimate turnaround. You would think he's doing the same thing with the coaching staff, that him and Ben Johnson kind of have a replacement, because Dan Campbell, you think he is dumb, but he's really smart, and he probably knew what he had in Ben Johnson. So he's probably been helping Ben Johnson progress to know he's going to be gone, but he probably has a backup plan or two that's already ready and waiting in the wings. So we'll see. I wish nothing but the best for Ben if he does go to Washington, but it would be really cool if we ran it back with him. That's all I'm saying.
If I were Dan Campbell, I'd be all over Ben Johnson in this offseason.
Exactly.
whatever it takes. And I think you're totally right. It's like, do you really want to go to the Commanders? I mean, it does me. The pay bump from becoming a head coach is obviously
A
tremendous.
lot of money he's asking for.
Is it really
$16 million a year?
Oh, I mean, that's a lot.
Wow.
Yeah.
Allegedly. But
And maybe that's a strategy of like, hey Dan, screw it. I'm going to ask for $15 million. If they give it to me, I can't turn it down. But if I do, then if they do, then cool, we're running it back.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine wanting to. It seems like such a fun locker room to be in. It seems like everybody's just all pulling the oars in the same direction. They're all about getting their guys in there. So,
Mhm.
especially if you're able to, come put it all together. And I mean, you see what teams are able to do when they're able to maintain as much consistency as possible. Obviously, it's a business and there's contracts and stuff. But you see these teams that are able to keep this nucleus of guys together, how successful they can be year over year over year when you're just building on stuff as opposed to bringing all sorts of new guys in, having to do with new play callers, new stuff. I mean, it can be a meteoric rise. So how far they got this year, if they're able to keep him in house and keep most of that, I mean, Laporta came out and,
They have a
is
ton of young players.
unbelievable. Amon-Ra St. Brown is probably my favorite player in the league that doesn't play for the Giants. And it's just like they're so much fun to watch. So like, and
And
it feels they've just been so downtrodden forever. It's like every Lions fan I know, it's like I just want to, it's like, oh, like how are you feeling? Everybody's just so happy to be there. It's awesome.
yeah, and it's like people. Of course, it's been beaten. It's been a drum that's been beaten, but it's like everybody laughed at the Jameer pick. He's been solid. Jack Campbell solid. Brian Branch, Laporta solid. And you look back at, I forget who they picked Sewell over, but I feel like there was quarterbacks and stuff they could have taken, but they went with Sewell, and he's
So
damn near the
so
next
good.
next Trent Richardson,
Yeah.
or no, Trent Williams. And the only thing that gives me hope is I think I think it's a different story if the 49ers completely destroy Detroit, then it's like, okay. But if you look at that game, like Detroit, I mean, you can't, that has to leave a sour taste in your mouth to where it's like, um, everybody and their mom, like Detroit should have won that game. I mean, take the drops away, even if you kick the field goals, like Detroit should have won that game. And I think the way they lost maybe can give some hope to Ben Johnson to be like, man, I'm not going out like that. We need to run it back. And then now, if they got their ass kicked, then I feel like it is what it is. But maybe that type of loss keeps him around maybe for one more year. And he just goes Josh McDaniels and Bill Belichick and just stays around with Anthony Glenn, and we just roll with it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a good point. I am a little curious from your point of view as a Lions fan. What are your overall thoughts on the Dan Campbell decisions? Like, are you happy with them when in the moment? Are you happy? Are you okay with it? Because obviously, not kicking that field goal down there is certainly tough. And not to say that anything would change, but it's not taking those points and going for it is tough. But there really is the one that I had the biggest issue with, because I personally love it. It's like it's unwavering of who he is. They have if you want to build the DNA of a team, like you really need to be who you are no matter what. But the biggest issue that I have was when they were right before they scored that touchdown on fourth down, running it on third down and having to burn a timeout there because they didn't get in. It's really the only one to me that doesn't have it can't really be like written off as, we are who we are. But overall, as a Lions fan, how are you feeling about all of those decisions from top to bottom?
I think it's a two-edged sword. I think the biggest boneheaded thing was the running it on third down. That should have been that one made no sense to me. I'm watching and I'm like, okay, quick out, like throw it out of bounds or to where only somebody can catch it. Then we run the ball, and I'm like, oh, as soon as we did that, that was game. But I think it's a two-edged sword of that type of aggressiveness and putting your dick on the table got us to where we were at, or not us, but them got the Lions to where they were at. Hindsight's always the easiest thing. And I mean, the first one, I had no issue with the first one. I didn't have any issue with the second one either. The first one, you still had all the momentum. It's just a drop, a little bad pass. Like you live with that one. You can't predict Jahmyr Gibbs is going to have a fumble. Damn, I swear that was his first fumble of the season. Like you can't predict that stuff's going to happen.
Yeah.
Now, the way the game was going, and you've already lost the momentum, I probably would have loved to see. I didn't love the second fourth down as much as I loved the first one. Definitely would have loved some points right there, and it kind of came back to haunt them because we scored. We're still down 3, but the second one I would have loved a little more just because there was no momentum on our side. First one, no issue with. Second one, you live with it, but you can kind of see where it killed us. The third down one was like you've proven you're smart, and you're proven you've been smart by putting your balls on the table. That one just made I can't even. there's nothing I can defend on that one. I don't know why they ran the ball on third down, but that goes back to Jared Goff. I feel like you have to look at that situation and look at the front and just be like, screw it, I'm checking it. I'm just going to throw it, whatever. We'll ride with it. But yeah, that one was more boneheaded than anything.
I think you just can't call the timeout.
Yeah,
you can run that. When I was watching it, my thought was two things. You either have two plays, so Jared Goff knows if this gets stuffed right back to line of scrimmage, you call play number 2, hike, throw it, or you have the kicking team in that emergency
Mayday.
setup,
Yeah,
Mayday, where they come out, you don't get it on third down, you kick the field goal, and then you can't go into an onside kick with 2 timeouts with the way that the onside rules. Doesn't make sense.
and I was honestly like, I was hoping for the Mayday situation, because you run the kicking team out there. Well, I think it was like 50 something seconds left. Let's say you take your time, you still kick the ball with 30 seconds, and then your 3 stops, you get the punt, and you maybe have 12 seconds left. So I mean, you have 12 seconds to do something. I feel like that end of game was way more boneheaded than anything as far as the 4th down conversions. And I mean, it's also a different story if Reynolds, who has been absolutely out of nowhere, and he's been so consistent all season, just one of those things where, he just drops 2 of them. And then, of course, the second 4th down conversion, he's wide open going across the middle. Goff obviously doesn't see him and goes to St. Brown. It's an underthrow. But hell, who knows? Maybe I can't be mad at it, other than that was a game that it sucks for the fans, and the players, they're probably, for the next, up until kickoff next season, they're going to be licking their wounds for this one.
Yeah.
I feel like having Dan Campbell in the locker room for that can help with this kind of stuff. He's the kind of guy that can rally everybody together. I mean, you saw him walking out arm in arm with Teddy Bridgewater, who said he's retiring, who honestly, I forgot he was even on the Lions, but it seemed like, they had, if you had just seen that clip, you would have assumed that they were like, that he was the quarterback all season. So it's just, I hope for the Lions' sake that Ben Johnson stays. Then they can really build something around that. They've drafted great. And, I think overall, Dan Campbell, good locker room guy, maybe not a big math class guy, but, you can pay people for that. You can bring people in that can help with those kind of decisions.
Dan Campbell strikes me as a guy who plays Madden. And I keep talking about these coaches just have to play some Madden to understand late game scenarios. So straightforward. All of us, anybody who's out there plays a bunch of Madden. Like,
I swear,
I have 3 timeouts, man. What are you talking about? What are we doing?
I don't know if time coordinator coach is a thing, but I feel like I could be the highest paid time coordinator in the league.
Yeah,
I could be the highest paid time coordinator. Like, no, don't do that. Why are we running it? We got 3 timeouts. What's going on? I could definitely kill that. I play too much Madden.
You know what? Or after that, just unplug the remote and don't go out and play. Don't even kick the thing. Just go back to the lobby and play a new game. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even go out.
Like,
quit.
Can we quit? Can we just quit and restart? What's going on
The
here?
connection to your peer has been lost. That's all. Yeah.
First half, San Francisco quit. We got to find a new lobby.
Yeah, exactly. If this was Madden, you guys be in the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah. Unfortunately, there's 2 halves to every game, so that's tough.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we do have to also give the flowers to the 49ers a little bit. So Taylor, I know we're taking you away from work a little bit. Are you okay with listening to us and maybe hopping in, talk about the 49ers a little bit?
I'll do a little bit. And I want to say I saw a tweet that McCaffrey wouldn't play with a paper cut in Carolina, but all of a sudden he's the Incredible Hulk, and I second that.
Yeah.
They need to look into that.
I don't blame him having to go out and play for Tepper and play in those terrible teams. I guess they had some good teams while he was there, but yeah.
No, I mean, Cam Newton's calling it out in the huddle. I don't know how motivated.
Yeah.
Well, was he in the Super Bowl with that Panthers team, or was that
no.
Okay.
Wait, I don't think so.
Guys naming dudes. It had to be the running back who played Memphis. Was it
It was
D'Angelo
like Jonathan
Williams or
Stewart and
something?
Yes.
D'Angelo Williams.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. guys naming players. There we go.
That's it.
Yeah. So, but yes, the 49ers, I mean, McCaffrey it's basically just the lock that he's
Greg
going
Olsen was on that team.
He
Sorry,
was. He was. I
Same
know.
dude.
They basically McCaffrey will score 2 touchdowns every week. Debo
Mhm.
Samuel is like, I don't know, like the fastest guy I've ever seen, aside from like Tyreek Hill. Ayuk did get lucky, but what I still, listen, they're great, they're amazing at basically every position. Trent Williams is amazing. They have a couple dudes on defense, but their defense clearly, is not the strong point of that team. But like everybody after the game is just like, Purdy, Purdy, Purdy. He's unbelievable. Everybody that was talking shit about Purdy, like, look and see what he did. It's like, what, he had like 260 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Like, what? I get that he like was, managed the game, whatever, but everybody was talking like he went out there and had some like crazy Josh Allen Mahomes performance where he threw for 3 and ran in 2 in the second half. And it's just like, I feel like I watched the same game. Like, what was I missing? Like, why was everybody like, Purdy did it?
As a Lions fan, what absolutely pissed me off was when did Brock Purdy turn into Lamar Jackson and get clutch third down? He had like 4 third down runs where he shed our defenders and runs for 20 yards. Where has that been all season? Like, I mean, good for him. He hit it from the scouting report. That was the most, I mean, the Mahomes type throw where he threw it over Campbell to Kittle. Like, you know what? You get one of those, but the most frustrating thing was like, hey, Glenn, like, dude, he's killed you once or twice. Just make sure it doesn't happen again. And it happened 3 or 4 or 5 times that he just killed you with your legs. And you're like, where the absolute hell did this come from all season?
Yeah, I think he had like 50 rushing yards. It was insane.
Yeah, like, and then Lamar Jackson can't do shit. And you're like, well, this is supposed to be reversed. Brock Purdy's supposed to not leave the pocket. Lamar Jackson's supposed to have 200 rushing yards, but the scripts were flipped the whole day.
I mean, Lamar Jackson is the MVP of the NFL.
I mean,
they say.
Lord. They say, but
that's what they say.
Like that McCaffrey's going to get his. Debo, Ayuk's going to get his off some fluke shit. Like, Brock Purdy's going to get some. The most frustrating thing was he was getting a quarter of it from things he hasn't done all season. You're just like, stop the dude from running. Like, play some sort of prevent. Like, Aiden Hutchinson, stop rushing upfield. Just get some pressure without your left shoulder going over the quarterback and breaking contain. Like, what's going on? But that was the most frustrating thing.
What doesn't make sense to me is the Lions feel like such a hard-nosed team, but it felt like their tackling was just subpar.
Those guys are not fun to tackle, I don't think.
I get that they're not fun, but it's the amount of tackles that were being ran through, it just felt like.
But there is a thing that there are some offenses that you got to hit a guy a couple times and it does. Even if it's subconscious, it's like it's tough to bring everybody you just named are guys that do not go down easy.
Yeah,
they're like Amon-Ra St. Brown is like that, and David Montgomery for you guys for the Lions. Like, but imagine if your entire team was Amon-Ra St. Brown and David Montgomery. It's like you get pretty tired out there.
Yeah,
not Brock Purdy though.
Who's that?
I feel like Brock Purdy shook off far too many tackles, like sacks in your sacks, where you're like, that's not really his, MO here.
I was waiting for him to get killed.
Yeah,
I was like, this is it. This is the end of his career. Where's the hit?
So I love Anzalone, I love Campbell, Rodrigo, Barnes. I think our linebackers are good, but going back to tweeting or X, like, somebody said, I want my linebackers to like have low IQ or a little bit of mental illness. I think our secondary we need 4 Brian Branches back there. I think he has a little bit of mental illness that like he just doesn't care, and I love that. So we need like 3 or 4 more Brian Branches in this draft. Like that, what's that test the players take at the comp? Yeah. We need people who have the absolute worst scores on the Wonderlic and draft them like first and second round, and those are our defensive players.
Right. Just get a couple Frank Gores out there. Get somebody that scores a 3 on the Wonderlic, but knows exactly what's going on in WWE.
Dre Greenlaw on the 49ers looks like he's playing with a brain cell. And he hits like that. It's so hard.
He hits like he loses all of his brain cells and he doesn't care. And like Frank Gore Jr., we need to draft him, make him a fullback and a rover. Just both sides of the ball, dude. He'll play for 30 years.
Yeah, but I think we
I have
are.
to drop off, guys. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, good. Well, listen, we appreciate your time. You know, this is not the easiest day for you, and we appreciate you coming on. So we'll have you on again beginning of next season, and we'll get amped up for 2024, 2025 Detroit Lions.
Too early prediction. We'll at least be back in the NFC Championship.
Love it. Lock it
Yeah.
in.
I think so
Timestamp.
too. I think so too. I
Timestamp
really do.
it.
I think you'll be better.
Yep. Well,
Love
man,
it.
I appreciate it. Y'all have a good one.
Have a good one,
Bye,
Taylor.
Taylor.
Thank you.
See y'all.
So, want to make sure sufficiently. I think we're all 49ers fans, right? Are we all 49ers
No.
fans? Sarah?
You're grouping me in. No, I'm not, because if the 49ers win this Super Bowl, that puts them one ahead of the Cowboys in all time. They're both right now. They're tied for 5 Super Bowls.
So now you're playing chess right now. You're thinking long term, and that's
Yeah.
I guess so. You're gonna have to sit there. You, Taylor Swift, the Kelseys. You're gonna go get in Taylor Swift's box, hang out with Mama Kelsey, and get your shirt from Use Check.
Yes, I already pre-ordered it, actually. Thank you. And it's a jacket, not a shirt, but
It's a shacket, okay?
no, I mean, I hate it. I don't want to root for either team. I feel like I'm the stereotypical fan who's like, I'm not going to watch the Super Bowl this year, but I am, obviously. I'm not a fan of the color scheme that's going to be going on. A lot of ugly red, mustard, gold tones are going to be out there, which is not good for the casual fan either. But yeah, I really don't want to root for either team, but the Chiefs have never done anything personally to the Cowboys. So I feel like, because I don't want to see the Chiefs win, but because there's this statistical, thing going on with the 49ers, I feel like I have to go and lean in the favor of the Chiefs.
Okay. All right. That's better for the podcast. I guess we'll have to be fine with that.
This in my mental, I'm filing this one away.
I don't blame you. I guess that makes
the
sense.
Eagles have never really done anything to the Bills.
Shut the fuck
go
up.
Birds.
Go Birds. So I think we're all excited. So what we are going to do is we're going to get everything together, and next week will be our full Super Bowl preview. We are all going to come with our official picks, as well as some additional fun prop bets that we're all going to go for, and we'll all start with a certain amount of units, put some bets in, and we'll see who comes out on top. Rough week, we'll touch on it quick, I guess. Blazel's best bets. Rough championship round.
Playoff edition. This doesn't include the regular season.
Yeah, just playoff edition. Regular season, we're still good. I think we're still plus. In the playoffs, we are currently down 3.86 units of the 6.5 we started with, but we have 2.64 to play around with moving forward for the Super Bowl. So we got some money in the kitty still, but a rough week. At least that under in the Ravens-Chiefs game did hit.
Heads or tails, sound off in the comments. We're going to need it for next week.
We're going tails. But we're all going to come. Yeah, we'll come back with all of our favorite prop bets. I guess before we let you go, too, a little bit of other NFL news. Sarah, I know you had, your former what you thought was going to be heir apparent, Kellen Moore.
Yes. Yeah. All I have to say is Kellen Moore is a traitor. The Eagles have officially hired him as offensive coordinator, which I think speaks volumes to Sirianni's plans here. Obviously, I think we talked about earlier. We all felt maybe Sirianni's job was in question. It seems he's keeping his job potentially by they asked him to, bring names of potential offensive, defensive coordinators he thought would be a good fit. He comes up with Kellen Moore. If you watch the Chargers or the Cowboys for the past few years, you don't want Kellen Moore as your offensive coordinator. There's not a lot of good film out of there from the past few years, but in the brain of Nick Sirianni, I see him justifying this, being like, yeah, we're sticking it to the Cowboys. We're getting insider info. Like, it's the easy answer choice for him to go with Kellen Moore without actually watching any deep analytical film and justifying it. His probably only sole reason was he was offensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys. And I kind of hate it because a part of me is scared that there's going to be some revival of Kellen Moore's career. He's young. He's probably a smart guy. Maybe he can turn it around from here. So I'm not saying he's doomed. I'm not saying he's trash yet. And that makes me a little nervous. But overall, you're never happy to see one of your coordinators go within the division. You just aren't. It's irritating beyond belief. I'm sure the Cowboys are upset about it. And it's just another Eagles move to get under our skin, which is so annoying, but it's the way it is.
But Sarah, I'm sure you'll agree with me, but I would like to get somebody outside of the NFC East opinion in Mike. Now with Sirianni and Kellen Moore uniting forces, is there a head coach offensive coordinator combo with more punchable faces in the entire world?
Oh,
because I hate. I mean, also it doesn't hurt that he's then Cowboys and then now Eagles. I hate Kellen
Can I
Moore's
punch
dumb.
Mike McDaniel twice?
Yeah, you could.
Because I don't know who their offensive coordinator is. I'll just hit that guy twice. I think I could take him right now. Probably a little quicker than me, but I'm slimming down.
Yeah, you'll
just
get
so I
there.
can catch him.
Was Shannon Dawson? I don't know.
Oh, I would smack the shit out of a Shannon Dawson. Wait a minute. Wait. He looks.
I can't tell
If
what
it's
guy.
that guy, I'm not hitting him.
Yeah, I wouldn't hit that guy. But I hate the way Kellen Moore's face looks, and then Nick Sirianni. It just seems like they're building.
They've been dull.
It just seems like they're building just a group of just the most annoying people.
But they seem like polar opposites, though, in a
Yeah.
way. Like, you know what I mean, in terms of just actual interactions. Like, I don't see how that's gonna go well. I just feel like they don't see on the same page. They do not see the world in the same way. I feel like.
I would not punch Robert Saleh.
Nope.
Nope.
No.
That guy will hit back.
And I'm not fighting OJ Mayo either. Let me tell you, you know what? The AFC, I'm good. But I think Sean McDermott could take all right. You know, we're not gonna make it.
It was more I hate the way that
National champion wrestler. Just saying.
I hate Kellen Moore's face. And then also, Sarah, you had written here, I think kind of shocking to us all, Falcons pass on Belichick. I don't know if the Falcons pass on him, or in my mind, I still just can't picture him there. So I don't know if it's a Belichick passing on the Falcons kind of thing, because I can't imagine anybody passing on him. So I don't really know what this means for Bill moving forward. Like, I don't really think he's just going to go like be a DC somewhere. But
we are interviewing coaches.
The jobs are fewer and far between than they were when he first retired.
It's down to Seattle and Washington.
Yeah.
Can't picture him either of those places.
And Vrabel's got to get a job.
Definitely.
I want Vrabel as our defensive coordinator. My thoughts are, if Dan Campbell goes, people are saying Seattle potentially for Dan Campbell. So then we have an opening. I would love the Cowboys to take Vrabel, but. Or wait, Dan Quinn. I'm sorry. We were talking so much about Dan Campbell that he's just ingrained in my brain after the past 24 hours. Dan Quinn is being in the talks for Seattle head coach, so obviously that leaves a vacancy in Dallas. Vrabel would be a pretty nice fit. I feel like he could really level out Mike McCarthy, which is not an easy task for sure. But that's just my idealistic goals right now. But yeah, I don't know about Belichick. I don't know if it was a mutual decision, like they both didn't feel like it was just not going to work out. Maybe Belichick didn't like them. I don't think he's in it for the money really, but I don't know. I don't know what happened, but I can't see him in Atlanta. Atlanta feels like they're going nowhere in the next couple of years, even if he was there. I know they still have some young studs and they're building, but their quarterback situation is just a mess.
It's not, you're not going to come in and win right away, but I have thought about this. We might have talked about it on the pod before. I saw like right when him and Saban retired, stepped away in back-to-back days. I saw somebody on Twitter had said that they need to just create a consulting firm and they need to do a show like Bar Rescue where the two of them go into NFL or college football teams and just like lay into the coaching staff. And I'm like, that's the greatest idea I think I've ever heard.
I would replace Hard Knocks with that immediately. Next.
Belichick and Saban going into any pro team, like they go into Seattle or they go and yell at David Tepper in Carolina.
Like, they go first.
Clean the fucking plates up.
Aaron Rodgers, you are not in charge here. You are not in charge.
I would love to see that. So. Well, thank you guys. Again, what an amazing football season. We're next week, as I mentioned, we're going to have a full Super Bowl recap with lots of prop bets, lots of our official picks, and we got to get ready for the post-football world. But so we need to focus up, get excited for the Super Bowl, have some fun.
Can I give a little tease?
Please.
I've got one that I've circled in red and probably going to bet before we talk next week.
Oh,
Purdy and Mahomes over 50 rushing yards. It's like plus 140.
Get that in.
Combined rushing yards or
Yeah.
50. Yeah. Okay.
Feels like a trap because Purdy ran last week, but
Yeah. Could be
Yeah.
fun.
I'm a sucker for traps. So.
And Mahomes
I'm
is
in.
that classic guy that just scampers out there and gets way more rushing yards than you expect.
Twinkle
Yeah.
So we love you guys as always. Watch us on YouTube. We have some fun stuff in the backgrounds this week, which is always exciting. You can watch us, follow us, Spotify, Apple, anywhere you get your podcasts. And not to do any tease, but we did have some talks. We may be doing a little rebrand here coming forward as well. So we're putting some stuff out there and maybe looking for a new name, maybe some new segments. We have a whole world coming after.
Big sponsor. It's it rhymes with Mold Nice body wash.
There,
It's
yeah.
Old Spice.
You talked to Old Spice?
Yep. I did. I DM them.
Oh, that's good. That's That's good stuff.
There you go.
So we love you guys, and we will talk to you next week.